Okay, for this assignment, we're going to build an application very similar to AngryBirds. So let's go to Unity Hub. Oops, hang on, sorry. And we want to create a new project. We'll call it Demolition Proto 3D app. Okay, currently it's loading off screen. I'll move it over to my screen in just a minute. Okay, we finally got it started. So let me drag it over into screen. I'm just using the default layout, even though I got fairly high resolution for the video. First thing we're going to do is build a ground. So let's go up to our sample scene. Create a cube. We could do a plane or quad. The planes are really thin, and the cube will give us a little bit of height. We're going to do a 1 meter height on the cube. The plane and the quad is actually just two triangles, very efficient for processing. And the plane is actually used often for floors as well, where you can actually put movies and some animated GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, and other special effects. But the cube is a little more flexible in terms of more texture, like a larger size, for example. Gives it a little bit of a platform effect. And we'll call it ground. Let's go ahead, move it down 10 pixels. Give it a length of 100 meters, 1 meter height, 4 meters width. And again, I'm just going to slide around here to my camera angle. Next, we're going to create a materials folder. Create a new material. Give it a name, matte ground. Let's give it a little bit of a brown color. And then drag that onto our quad. And that'll be our ground. Okay, directional light in Unity is kind of like having the sun in the example when we're outside, but we need to go ahead and make a few changes to meet the requirements for the application. So let's go ahead and move it over 10, rotate it. We'll leave it that rotation, and that'll be good. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the camera, and to follow along with the book, I think everything here is properly set up in terms of the position, rotation. Okay, for our camera, a couple more settings we want to make. Let's go ahead and change our clear flags from a skybox, which makes it look like a sky with the sun falling through, to a solid color. Kind of soften up the blue to a lighter sky blue color. Change the camera type from perspective to orthographic. Again, that similar to what we did in our last example, just gives us a box view, no perspective. and then give it a size of 10 for now. By the way, we're choosing the size 10, which by moving our plane down -10, 10 is in the middle, so we have 10 above and 10 below. So that's going to give us a great view of our plane, or I'm sorry, our quad, and you'll actually see it sitting on the bottom of that quad. Okay. You can actually see we have a small problem. In my camera view, I should be bisecting that plane or that quad, and I noticed that I forgot to set this to 0. Once I set it to 0, I'll see that quad down at the bottom, so that when I play the game, I'll actually see the ground. Okay, let's build our slingshot. Go ahead and create an empty game object and call it Slingshot. Move it above the plane, so we'll go up to -10 on the z-axis. Oops. Next, go to Slingshot and create a cylinder. Change its position to 1 relative to the empty game object, and set its size to 0.5, 1.5. Oops. And we want to rotate it 45 degrees. Oh, nope, no we don't. Sorry, we're not there yet. And let's go ahead and create a texture or material. Let's make it yellow-ish. Make it flat. Oops. Add that texture to the cylinder. Let's remove the capsule collider. Capsule colliders basically allow objects to bounce off of it as well as trigger in the event that they collide with it. We're not wanting that. We're going to actually use a more efficient sphere collider and just set the trigger. And that way we can interact with the mouse in just a little bit later. Next, we'll go up to our cylinder, change its name to base. Okay, now we have our arm. We're going to want to create a Y. So we're going to take the same base and just hit Control D or duplicate. We'll call it left arm. Go over here and change the location, the angle, and move it over 1. There we go. Do the same thing again. Right click, duplicate, or Control D. Make this one the right arm. Oops. Come on. Really? Change that to -45. And location -1. I hope I set the size right. I did not. I apologize. I'm going to extend this out. I have to do this manually now to each one of them, but that's okay. There we go. Now let's set a sphere collider. Actually, sorry, component sphere collider. We do want it to trigger. And we want the radius to be larger, and we want to move it up a hair. Oops. Oops, not there. The sphere. There we go. Okay, good. Let's go ahead and move our slingshot to its location. Give it a little bit of a rotation. And that should be good. Now we'll create a launch point. So go ahead and go to Slingshot and create empty. Call it launch point. Let's remove the angle that we created before. Put it back to a straight line. And you can actually see. I gotta move it down real quick. So let's change its location. I'm sorry, that was a position. That should be in 4. We want to change the angle. Before it was negative, the actual angle of the slingshot was negative 15 degrees. So that we fire straight, we want to go back to the right 15 positive degrees. And that will shoot, you'll see it actually right here, shooting straight. Where before it was kind of angled at a 15 degrees direction that way. Okay, now we're going to create a projectile prefab. So go ahead and right click in your scene and create a 3D sphere. Add a rigid body so that we can interact with it. Set its mass to 5 so it has some weight behind it. Go to your materials. Create a new material. Let's call it matte projectile. Let's set it into a gray or silver metallic object. Go ahead and drag that material up to the sphere and rename the sphere projectile. Create a new folder so that we can store our prefabs. Drag the projectile into the prefab. Once you verify it's there, go ahead and delete the projectile. And then save your scene. And now we're ready to start coding our game.